When you first saw Halo, were you blinded by its majesty?
Blinded?
Paralyzed? Dumbstruck?
Let me just say that as a 9-year-old kid playing this game for the first time, I didn't know what I was getting into. All I wanted to do was shoot some aliens in the face and be this green armored badass that saved the world. It wasn't until I started the second level that I realized my eyes were in for a tasty treat. It's my humble opinion that video games, much like movies and TV, are a visual medium with a distinct advantage. Video games are interactive. This means that you could be a part of the world a developer has created. You could explore the world as you see fit, and you can naturally come across a scenery you find breathtaking. Usually in a movie, you see what a director wants you to see. A movie's world is always shot in a way for you to look at. Games like Halo instead have you be a part of that crafted world. But what good is it when there's nothing to see? We're taking a look at how Halo. We're gonna take a look at how We're taking a look at how Halo makes you feel like you're on an ancient ring world through its visuals, and how visuals can also affect the gameplay. Something every Halo fan remembers is their first steps on the installation. You're greeted by green, by nature. It looks familiar, but then you look up and it's like, whoa. You keep walking and eventually you see this big gray beacon that shoots a beam of light, seemingly to the other side of the ring. And immediately you go, what is this thing? Why is it here? What does it do? Who made this? And boom, and that's how it does it. That's how you get immersed. The mystery pulls you in, and with each level revealing another layer, you find yourself lost. A lot of the game, you'll be exploring the architecture, most of it being under the surface of the grassy gorges and island beaches. Some parts can be claustrophobic hallways that have you feeling uneasy. Other parts can open up but be so dimly lit that you have to use your flashlight. And the entire time you can't help but think about how alien it all is. As a 9-year-old, I genuinely felt afraid during this mission, during the atmosphere. As a 9-year-old, I genuinely felt afraid during this mission because of the atmosphere. So much so that I had to stop playing for a month before jumping back in. Oh, and speaking about aliens. Look at this. What do you think about when you see this? And what about this? And this? If you thought that these are aliens, congratulations, you get a cookie. These are the creatures that you fight against, and their visual designs have two important purposes. One, their character details allude to the player the kind of combatant the alien is. For example, these tall boys are slender, muscular, and carry themselves with a certain elegance. So, they fight accordingly by dodging fire and not being afraid to get close and personal. 2. with each alien having distinct silhouettes, making on-the-fly decisions are easier to make when deciding what should I shoot at first. This kind of dynamic is integral to creating a need for strategy in moment-to-moment gameplay. I think Professor Video Game Donkey said it best when discussing the difference between visual clarity and visual density.
Now look at Halo 1. Look at how much visual clarity you have. The enemies have these bright, contrasting colors. They pop right out of the background. The player knows exactly what they're looking at. Of course, you have the red elite there, who is more powerful than the blue one, and then, boop, you turn on the new graphics and you're instantly at a disadvantage.
Even the little things, like the ammo counter on the assault rifle to the health bar and shield meter, serve the purpose of truly making you feel like the chief, while also letting the player know, hey, you should probably reload that weapon, and hey, you should probably take cover.
Oh no!
Which means that any organism with sufficient mass and cognitive capability is a potential vector. Is something wrong?
No, nothing.
Splendid, shall we?
The universe Bungie created was no doubt inspired by popular science fiction media before its time, but I think most of you would agree that they've created some fantastic examples of science fiction visuals of their own. Take a look at this. This is the M41 surface-to-surface rocket launcher, lovingly called the Spanker. To a lot of people, this is a memorable sight because of its unconventional yet intimidating design. And to put it simply, it's badass. Now look at this rocket launcher from a different game. Which one do you think looks more exciting and inventive? They're actually both from the same series, just different art departments. I bring this up because Bungie made a name for their franchise with the inspired and interesting visuals, and there's a reason so many fans protested these bizarre changes in art styles. Halo's visuals immediately became iconic, and I believe it speaks volumes of the game's visual creativity and identity. I wholesomely believe that Bungie nailed the design of their universe and created some of the more interesting visuals in games of the 2000s. I understand that these aren't the type of aesthetics you would find in a museum, or the kind that we've been studying in class, but I think it's interesting how visuals can serve a purpose greater than being something that's looked at. In Halo, visuals help the player feel like part of the world, and guide them to make tactical decisions that are a big part of the bar-setting gameplay. Believe it or not, this game is now 17 years old, but its aesthetic has become an iconic one in the video game industry. Whether or not you see it as art, however, depends on the person. I think it's safe to say that art isn't always agreed upon, but I think we can agree that this game's look was the creative result of talented people. It's a pleasure to look at, and to me, that's art. 17 years later, its artistic influence is still present, and its visuals etched into the memories of gamers like myself to this very day. Word.